Welcome to the P's and Q's podcast by PerfectQuote. For each episode, we're going to share a pint and ask some questions to learn more about the current state of the employee benefits broker market and the future of insurance technology. Join me, Kevin Dawson, as we hear from industry leaders and insurance executives in the PerfectQuote team for great drinks and conversations. Well, welcome to the P's and Q's podcast by PerfectQuote. I'm your host, Kevin Dawson, and today we are joined by Elek Pew of Beam. Elek, welcome to the P's and Q's podcast.
Awesome. Thanks for having me, Kevin. Excited to be here. Excited to share the time with you.
I'm excited for it. So, Elek, before we get into discussing who Beam is and what y'all do, let's get to know you a little bit better with some rapid fire questions. So your first question is, what was your first job?
Oh, first job. All right. Let me see. So my dad owned his own window cleaning business for 25 years, King Kong Services. And my first real job was working for him, cleaning windows at VA hospitals and different industrial corporate buildings and private houses. So yeah,
Nice.
I was a window cleaner.
Window cleaner. All right. Second question. What is your go-to order when you're at the bar?
Oh, I'm definitely going to go with an Allagash. Is definitely what I go with at the bar. They're
Nice.
a Maine-based brewery, so Allagash White might be the one you'd find out and about. But yeah, this one's an Allagash River Trip, though. That's
Nice. Cheers, my friend.
Absolutely.
What did you want to be when you were growing up?
An insurance salesman, of course.
That feels like a weird. Yes, we're here talking about insurance, but I don't know a single insurance person who ever said I want to go into insurance when I grow up.
Not at all. No, what did I want to be when I was growing up? Let me see. I grew up in a super small town of like 900 people. So just I knew I wanted to be back home. I didn't know exactly what I wanted to do, but I always knew that I wanted to be connected back to the woods in Maine. So that not a perfect answer for you, but I could tell you it was something along that lines.
That's fair. All right, next question. Podcast or playlist?
Oh, podcast, I'd say for sure.
So on the podcast side, what is some of your favorite podcasts to listen to?
Oh, there's a ton. I kind of like go back and forth. Some of the like the Daily or the Journal or some like current events ones that I'll get into to just like hear New York Times or Wall Street Journal talk about something that's going on in current events. Some deep dive ones are really cool. Serial is a really interesting one. Listening to This American Life is super cool. How I Built This is awesome. Listening to entrepreneurs about how do they like build their business, starting usually from nothing and then turn that into something. Those are always really cool stories. So yeah, runs the gambit, but podcasts are super cool. It's a really interesting format for like learning about what's going on with different people's lives.
Absolutely. All right. Well, that's all of our rapid questions for today. So let's actually get into what is Beam? Who is Beam? What's the Beam story?
Yeah, absolutely. Happy to talk about Beam. So Beam is a super cool kind of player in this space. We're a company founded about a decade ago by three college friends, really who initially kind of got their start with the company of building a smart toothbrush. So it was early days of Internet of Things, of connected devices, of wearables becoming more prevalent in society. So this concept of having a connected toothbrush was kind of came about, and so these guys who are all still involved in running the company built a Bluetooth toothbrush, kind of the version one of like the Beam brush, if you will. And it was really neat in that it connects to an app on your phone. It's Bluetooth enabled, really tracking your brushing habits in order to promote like healthy dental behaviors, track your brushing, et cetera. Really good for kids, making sure they're taking advantage of brushing. Parents can know, stuff like that. The company is successful at just selling toothbrushes. They sold 10,000 of them. But then they kind of reached an inflection point of where, like, what's the future of the business going to look like in terms of, are we a hardware company selling toothbrushes? Is that going to be our sole business? Or they're kind of presented with some unique opportunities to be able to pivot and move into the world of dental insurance, pairing that with the hardware that they've built. And they made a pretty cool move kind of through venture capital backing and beyond of taking the Beam brush, if you will, attaching that alongside a dental insurance policy built on by a totally modern kind of benefits provider to be able to pair their brush alongside dental insurance, and then over time have layered in vision, basic life insurance, really all ancillary employee benefits. Beam now brings hospital, accidents, voluntary life, bringing on a critical illness and eventually disability products to market as well. So Beam kind of got their start as a early days IoT company selling smart toothbrushes, and have pivoted into being one of the most modern kind of employee benefits providers in the ancillary marketplace. So it's a pretty cool place. Beam has then also kind of just seen tremendous growth over the last handful of years and into the future. So we're really well positioned. We love all the brokers that we work with, partners such as PerfectQuote, and really excited about what we're able to do in the market and the solutions we're able to bring to bear.
Absolutely. And you know what's interesting about what Beam has done, because when you look at the state of insurance and where the history of insurance, especially in the employee benefit, technology has not been really at the forefront. It's always been very antiquated. Still to this day, in some carriers in some markets, still very antiquated. It's, you don't really utilize technology. So why was technology such an important aspect in the development, going from just a toothbrush to saying, how do we embrace technology as an insurance carrier?
Yeah, no, absolutely. It's a great call out, and it's interesting. So I worked for a large kind of legacy insurance carrier before coming to Beam as well. So very much have had kind of exposure on both ends of the spectrum here, and just a lot of like players in the space are organizations, or 100+ year old organizations with technology stacks that were kind of built before the internet existed, if you will. And so it's really challenging to be able to take a foundation that your business lives on, billing systems, administration systems, et cetera, that were built in, whether it's programming languages or just have been built on top of each other in decades over decades, to then flip kind of on the head of this concept of exposability, of recognizing we've always lived in a benefits ecosystem, but now the ability to interconnect and exchange data in really modern, fast, efficient ways is something that technology is able to enable, that historically other like companies haven't been able to do. And so Beam, being a modernly digital, truly a digitally native company with the start, as I mentioned, on the brush side, but then all of our own kind of internal applications being built very much from the ground up with the concept of exposability in mind, of like, not only how do we expose core functions of our insurance products into our own like internal applications that we layer on top of these APIs, or through third-party kind of quoting quoting platforms that we're exposing to our broker audiences that want to interact with self-service tools, whether that's like our administration tools that we'll call Lighthouse to be able to manage your employees or manage enrollment or manage pay a bill, to upstream as well, of like, if we want to give a broker a quoting tool to be able to self-service quote their own products, we can build those UIs on top of the same underlying APIs that power our core infrastructure. And then you take that to the next level of how are we able to expose that same functionality into third-party partnerships, like what we've been able to do with PerfectQuote. And it's all about being able to connect Beam's solutions into the market of meeting distributors and administrators of where they are in the employee benefits ecosystem. So whatever technology they might be using, how do we connect Beam into those experiences in order to make their lives as easy and efficient, as simple as possible? Beam's whole mission is about modernizing and simplifying the employee benefits industry. And so technology is at the core of that, because the way that you modernize and the way that you simplify is by automating, is by taking friction out of the process, by taking people out of the process, by enabling, whether with any point of kind of the customer journey of the employee benefits world, from quote, bind, enroll, administer, like where can you take people and paper processes out of it and inject it with new technology in order to meet brokers and distributors where they are, and make the business that they do every single day just a hell of a lot faster and easier to use.
Yeah, absolutely. I know at PerfectQuote, Beam is our dental provider, and having plenty of years of exposure as a broker and as a user of dental insurance, Beam presents a very different approach to looking at dental as a benefit for employees. So, what is truly the big differentiator from Beam compared to some of these bigger legacy carriers that have been in the market for decades?
Yeah, so great question. I think so. For one, like we've talked everything technology wise in terms of what differentiates Beam, whether and that enables our own internal processes to differentiate from other carriers, or like our implementation times, as an example, measured in single digit days, often less than 5 days, even over the course of the fourth quarter. So our ability to be able to implement that new business in really quick turnaround times definitely differentiates us. But that's more of like the technology solutions, even from just a core insurance offering. What really differentiates Beam ties back to what we started talking about in terms of our approach to wellness and our focus on wellness, centered around the Beam brush as part of the kind of the dental offering. So that's where use any subscriber, anybody who has Beam coverage, is eligible to receive this electric toothbrush as part of like the Beam Perks program, where they're able to, or where essentially, if they use the brush constantly, they'll get points that can be redeemed within Beam's app, either for more paste, for other gift cards. I'm really incentivizing healthy behaviors. And so that Beam's focus on wellness, all the way back to like the core of our company, and we've carried it through to now, really differentiates us from other players in the space. And not to mention all the solutions that we're able to bring to bear to kind of make a broker's and a HR administrator's life easier. We have a solution that really is just fundamentally superior to what other dental products are out there on the market in terms of what employees and their family members are able to experience when they interact with Beam.
Absolutely. Well, Perfect Quote and Beam recently came together in this really great partnership. What are some things that Beam is looking forward to as we move into this new year in this partnership?
Yeah, so super excited about the partnership that Beam's entered into with Perfect Quote. I mean, it's a really good meshing of two companies that are clearly focused in the same area of like, how do we modernize and simplify employee benefits? And Perfect Quote's offering solutions to brokers that, hey, they're quoting small businesses. How do you make it as quick and efficient as possible? Because as you know as well as I, like the process today for quoting employee benefits, especially in ancillary employee benefits, is heavily people driven, very time consuming. Despite the fact that at the end of the day, most of these small employers of the benefits that they're offering like can be to some degree relatively standardized. We can come up with offerings that meet a client's need, and get them in front of those brokers in a really quick and easy way. And we've been able to do it through a really cool kind of technology integration that Beam has. So what I was talking about before in terms of how the concept of exposability is inherent at Beam, the idea of exposing our underlying rating and quoting algorithm into the market, the technology already exists because we've done it internally. It's how we connect to our own broker quoting tools that we give to any broker that wants to come and work with us. It's the same tool that we use for our own internal beamers that are pricing quotes for brokers that want to go that way. Or how do we connect to third party platforms? And some of it is because we're on the cusp of like where the industry is moving towards. Perfect Quote's one of our first partners here, where we've been able to take advantage of this idea of, hey, in fact, like outside parties, quote platforms want to be able to connect in. They don't want shelf rates, which has been the industry norm for decades, because it's all that legacy carriers have been able to provide. In terms of how do we simplify, and then that's just a matter of like simplifying pricing and inherently making it more conservative as a result of needing to kind of simplify what you're putting out of the market, not being able to capture actual employee demographic data, capture that into when you're calculating a rate to be able to ensure that you have the sharpest price possible out in the market. So Beam's really excited about the ability and how we've been able to connect in with Perfect Quotes. That every time a broker's in there uploading a census of, hey, these are all the employees that want to have coverage, they're getting returned rates for all their ACA medical plans. At the same time, that same information is getting passed to Beam. We're running it through our underwriting algorithm and coming up with, hey, this is what specified to this employer, to this employee population. What are the sharpest rates that they can get for dental, vision, basic life plans, and eventually we'll get our supplemental health plans on there as well. So we just see that as a huge win, for we're meeting distributors where they are in the market, providing them with our products and pricing upfront, and then they know how to get in touch with the Beam sales rep if they have questions about the plans, they need additional pricing support, or they just want to figure out how to, then do I take this to the next level? Just take that quote ID right out of Perfect Quote that syncs up to what already exists in Beam systems, and it's a really slick process versus something that today is managed through email, managed through spreadsheets going back and forth, and it's just really inefficient.
Awesome. Well, Elek, how can listeners find out more about Beam?
Yeah, pretty easy. Beambenefits.com. That's the place to go to learn all about us. You can also shoot an email to intro@beam.benefits. That'll get you connected with one of our sales reps if you don't have one already. But yeah, beambenefits.com. Also, look me up on LinkedIn. Shoot me a message. We can talk. So that's all good. Elek Pew.
Well, Elek, I appreciate you coming on, sharing a pint, answering some questions, and here at Perfect Quote, we definitely appreciate the partnership we have with Beam, and look forward to seeing that continue to grow.
Awesome. Really appreciate you having me on, Kevin. Thanks so much. And yeah, looking forward to 2023.
Absolutely. Well, thank you for listening to the P's and Q's podcast by Perfect Quote. You can find more information about Perfect Quote at perfectquote.io or contact sales@perfectquote.io. And we look forward to seeing you next time for another great P's and Q's podcast by Perfect Quote.